You know, there are days in life when you expect peace and you end up in a war, and not just any war, but the kind where you wake up and find a shiny new garage fully built smack in the middle of your land and nobody bothered to even knock. That's how my so-called golden years kicked off, and I promise you the birds at Lake Ethel never saw it coming either. I'd spent the better part of my life in the Navy wrestling with storms and steel, then another decade working land assessments all up and down the Oregon coast. If anyone had earned a little peace and quiet, I figured it was me. So when my knee finally gave out and the federal retirement paperwork was stacked higher than a storm bunker, I did what any sane man would do. I bought 3 acres of silence on the north tip of Lake Ethel. It wasn't fancy. Single-story cedar shake roof porch, out front old propane stove that popped and groaned in the evenings. But it was mine. Deed in the file box, property paid off, surveyed down to the inch. I had simple dreams: tidy up the slope, fix the old boat ramp, maybe put up a workshop facing the lake. You know, somewhere to hang a hammock for those rare Oregon summers. I even marked out the perfect spot. Hauled brush, flattened earth, staked out where utilities ran. But before I could break ground, an old buddy from my registry days called in a favor, needed help with some gnarly shoreline case over in Crook County. I owed him, so I packed up, left a note for the mail lady, and took off for 2 weeks. No cameras yet. I was waiting on a new Wi-Fi tower for the ridge, but honestly, who'd mess with a patch of dirt out here, right? Yeah, famous last words. Because when I got home, turned off the gravel road and hit the brakes, I just stared, mouth half open, at a brand new double bay garage sitting where my workshop was supposed to be. Concrete slab, crisp siding, aluminum doors, and some motion sensor light blinking at me like it knew what it had done. My first thought, maybe I'd lost my mind, built it myself and blacked out Navy style. But then I saw the path, brand new gravel cut straight through my trees, topped with pretty bricks, winding right back to the development next door. Pine Ridge Estates, of course. There were 2 workers still fussing with stones along the path, both looking tired and ready to be anywhere else. I walked up, slow, boots crunching. "Morning, fellas. What's the project?" The taller one wiped his brow and goes, "Garage for the HOA president, Mrs. Blakely." Said it like he expected a medal. She told us this was just empty. Brush owner would be glad to see some improvement. I thanked him, but he didn't like my smile one bit. I circled the thing. They'd bulldozed my flagged build zone, plucked out all my utility markers. It wasn't just a garage, it was a trophy. And it was mine whether I wanted it or not. So I went back to the house, made coffee, and laid out every bit of paper I had, the deed, the GPS survey, the county overlays. I spent that night not angry, just calculating. Years in the Navy teach you not to rush headlong into a minefield. By dawn, I had a plan. No shouting, no petty fights, just quiet surgical retaliation, the kind that makes tax auditors jealous. First, call the contractor. I remembered the name from one guy's shirt, Riverstone Builds. Called them up, told the sleepy voice who I was, and asked if they wanted more work on the same site. By 10 a.m., the crew rolled up ready to take new orders. This time I showed them everything: the deed, GPS overlays, boundaries marked by the county. No one argued. I told them to fence that garage in full steel motion detectors, infrared cameras, floodlights. Not a single opening left from the Pine Ridge side. Just gates with a keypad code changed hourly just for fun. Signs slapped up: private property. No trespassing. Structure under new management. I even installed a speaker. Motion detected. My voice played, "You are entering private property. Structure belongs to the landowner." That night I filed an official land dispute with the county, posted evidence, sent emails to the HOA, every T crossed, every I dotted. The next morning, as the mist lifted off the lake and I sipped my coffee, a white Lexus rolled up to my new fence, stopping with more dust than grace. Out marched Karen herself, HOA president, face set like she'd come straight from yelling at the mayor. She sized up the fence, the cameras, the speaker. When my recording played, she actually stumbled. Then she started shouting, "You can't just fence in my garage. I paid for that structure." She was halfway through her second tirade by the time I got there. I just held up my folder: deeds, county overlays, satellite shots with bright red parcel lines wrapped around her new garage. "This is my land, Karen. You built on it." Without so much as a knock. Her jaw went tight. Then she switched tactics, pulled out the "I'm the HOA president" card, claimed her garage was legal under the development plan. I thanked her. "It's exactly what I wanted, 2 Bays Lakeview. You really outdid yourself." She threatened to call the police. I told her I'd dial for her local or state her choice. She stomped off phone glued to her ear. 20 minutes later, Sheriff's Patrol showed up. I handed over everything deed overlays survey. The officers checked the markers, confirmed the fence was legal, the cameras were legal, and said it was a civil matter. Karen looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. She stormed out with a threat. "This isn't over." For a couple days, the land was dead quiet. Even the birds gave it space. But on the third morning, I spotted a man crouched near my fence, clipboard tape measure badge on a lanyard. "County compliance. Anonymous complaint about your fencing," he mumbled, not meeting my eye. I told him to file whatever he needed, just make sure I got a copy. He mentioned unpermitted permanent structures. I grinned. That'd be the garage someone else built on my land. Already reported case number and all. He left looking like he'd seen a ghost. That afternoon, I fired off notices: building department, tax assessor, contractor licensing board. Each one had proof unauthorized construction, Google Earth snapshots, crew statements. Within 2 days, I got a call from the county: no permits pulled for any new structure on my parcel, or even the ones next door. I was told an inspector would come out and issue violations, one domino down. The next day, a manila envelope appeared in my mailbox, HOA letterhead, unsigned, full of vague legal threats about unreasonable obstruction and disruption of community planning. I framed that one and hung it inside the garage. You gotta enjoy the small victories. A few days later, 2 men from the HOA board showed up. All, "Let's settle this amicably." We sat on the porch. They tried small talk. Lake trout, nice fence. Then they got to it. "Can't you just hand over the garage?" I told them. "Nope. Garage stays. Fence stays. You want to fix this? Talk to the county." They left looking deflated. But Karen wasn't done. She tried to alter the GIS parcel map. The county called to confirm someone had submitted a correction moving my land boundary, signed K. Blakely. The survey looked like it was drawn by a raccoon on a bender. I submitted everything to the county clerk: GPS logs, affidavits, and a cover note pointing out attempted falsification of land records, felony under Oregon law. 2 nights later, my motion sensors pinged 2 a.m. Some guy with bolt cutters tried to bust the lock on my gate. He was gone before I got there, but I got his plate. Turns out it was Karen's nephew, Logan, the delivery driver. I filed an incident report and called my lawyer. Not just any lawyer, Elizabeth Durant, land fraud and civil liability specialist. We filed a multi-claim suit: illegal construction, property damage, trespassing, attempted fraud. $215,000 in damages, including legal fees and restoration. Karen's lawyer was served the next evening. I didn't celebrate, but I did go sit in my new garage for a while, just listening to the rain hit the roof. Karen tried to countersue, accusing me of unlawful seizure and public humiliation. I sent the whole mess to Liz. At the hearing, Karen tried her best, but her case fell apart in 20 minutes. The judge tossed her counterclaim before lunch, but the big show was still coming. We stacked our evidence: high contractor receipts and Karen's name, sworn crew statements, HOA meeting minutes with no vote ever taken. The ace was Trina from the GIS office, confirming Karen had tried to falsify county records. That was a felony, even if the DA didn't care to chase it. In court, Liz was a force of nature. The judge, a tough woman who didn't take nonsense, listened to everything. Then asked Karen, "Do you have any proof you could build there?" Karen stammered something about a verbal agreement. The judge shut her down, ruled in my favor. Full ownership title amended, $215,000 damages awarded. HOA ordered to audit every project from the last 5 years. Karen was removed from her post at the next HOA meeting, unanimous vote, not a word of protest. Her house was listed for sale 2 weeks later. The town moved on. I started getting thank you pies from neighbors, people I'd never met. I hadn't set out to be a hero, but after that, folks waved as I drove past. The new HOA president told me they were rewriting the bylaws from scratch with real votes this time. I put a sign on my new garage, built by HOA, owned by me. Neighbors laughed, but nobody argued. The trees turned gold, the lake settled back into quiet. Karen disappeared, not a word, not even a Facebook rant. The cameras blinked, the doors locked, and at night I'd sit in my canoe, look back at the house and think about boundaries, how hard folks will fight to ignore them, and what it takes to defend them. You want a moral? Here it is. Don't let anyone tell you your line in the sand doesn't matter. And if someone tries to build a kingdom on your land, you make damn sure they end up giving you the keys. Now tell me, what would you have done if you were in my boots? Ever had an HOA try to muscle you off your own land? Drop your story in the comments because trust me, there's always another Karen out there waiting.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.